Hi guys, it's Blakey and welcome back to the Percussion Series. Okay, today we were going to be doing a sighting in and talk about load development, etc. But, as you may be able to hear on the roof, it's been raining all day. It's been raining for the last 3 days. And I am between lines right now. It's been raining all day where you can't get out here, you can't see 50 yards. And now it's slacked up. But it is coming and it's on the radar. It's just probably about 20-30 minutes away, so we got to shoot this quick if we're going to do anything. We're not going to be able to shoot, but I can still pass on some of the other information. So I apologize if I'm going to be a little short and quicker than normal, but I'm, giddy up. We're pressing the time clock here. So let's talk about this. When we are, and this is unloaded, see, no chambers and no caps. Whenever we are shooting a percussion revolver, how do we develop a load for it? Well, our modern ammunition that we use in our modern cartridge firearms is kind of taking a lot of that problem out of it, because consistency equals accuracy. I want you to remember that. Consistency equals accuracy. So in our modern ammunition, it's been loading in a factory or whatever. It is a precise amount of a given powder. It is a precise bullet size, weight, diameter. It's loaded in a precise depth to a certain amount of press or grip on the case. The primer is this, the power, and all cataloged and sold to you as a consumer to be this power, this, all of this stuff, and you can drop it in your gun and it will be slightly different. But the point is, they've taken a lot of this technical stuff out. Okay, so what is accuracy? That depends on you. Accuracy is what level of accuracy are you going to be asking from this gun. If all you're wanting to do is take this out to Civil War reenactments and make a bunch of noise, you may never even fire a live round in it. There are tons of videos out there on how to do that, of making up blank cartridges to go into just to make good noise and stuff like that. If you're just wanting to take it out for informal plinking, and as long as it can stay on a 5-gallon bucket at say 15-20 yards, I'm happy. Good news. It's going to be very easy to hit that. Just load it the same way every time, following these steps I'm about to tell you, and you'll be right on. What if you want more accuracy out of it? Now you got to get down in the weeds a little bit more, because I want what Colt envisioned for this gun. I am not using this gun strictly as a noise maker or a novelty to take to the range. I'm using this as a field revolver, as personal protection should I encounter a rabid dog. Very, very common in my woods, a rabid coon. If I encounter a large venomous snake up here too close where I cannot avoid it, where it's me or it, and I'm wanting to use this to dispatch the animal humanely, which means my level of accuracy is I have to be able to put all shots within a 2-inch circle. So that's about the size of a big snake head, about a 2-inch circle out to about 15 yards. I can stay on bigger further out if I can do that. So could I stay on, say, a 55-gallon drum at 75 yards? So yes, my guns I expect to be able to easily stay onto like a trash can size target at 75 to 100 yards. I should be able to hit it at least most of the time if I do my part. But I'm really interested in that up close accuracy, because I'm using this as a field revolver, as a hunting gun. I'm going to hunt small game with this in the fall for meat for the pot. And so therefore, as a hunting weapon, as a defense weapon, I require this to shoot at least within a 2-inch group at that kind of range. And so that's the reason we're going to go more in depth than we normally would have to. Okay? Now, variables. What kind of powder are you using? Are you using GoX 3F? Are you using a different kind of powder, and this one happens to be 2F? Or are you in a position where you can't get black powder and you're having to use the smokeless substitutes, like this Powered XP for pistols? Which one are you using? Well, there's going to be variation. I want you to think of the barrel and all of this gun, again, consistently. If you've put it together correctly and the wedge is in properly, so there's no forward to back of it, when you cock it, there's not enough in shape to matter front to back on the cylinder, and it's good and locked up. It's not a little left, a little right every time. So when you pull it up there and you try it, it will just barely rock. That's a good gun. That's a good setting everything up to have accuracy. Now we're talking about the barrel. Steel that we use for gun barrels. Whenever they are created, and they're coming right off the assembly line as a billet, not as a barrel yet, it's just a piece of steel that they're going to turn into this. They're going to shape and scrape and bore until they make a gun barrel. It comes out, and as it's coming out, it's red hot. It's coming out of the machine, the foundry and all that's making it. It comes out here and cools, and at that last second, as it's cooling down, going from red and it's becoming a little, it becomes magnetic again. And people that have worked with stuff will tell you about that. You can take a piece of steel and the magnet will stick it to it. You can heat it up and magnet won't stick to it. It's non-magnetic when it's hot. When it cools, it becomes magnetic again. Think of the fibers of the steel of this barrel like tiny little compass needles. And every one of them align whatever the magnetic north is right then. So if I lay this hunk of steel over here and I lay that hunk of steel over there and I lay that hunk of steel back yonder, and each one of them in slightly different positions, whenever they cool, they will all point at magnetic north. And that causes the fiber of the steel to be a little bit different every time. So it kind of acts like a tuning fork. Okay? When you fire, X amount of pressure as that bullet starts to go down the barrel. The friction between different kinds of bullets, how big the bullet is, causes more or less friction. How much push from the powder charge equals different things. These variables cause the bullet to hit different points of impact on the target, because this tuning fork like barrel, and all guns are tuning fork like steel, they are acting different to the pressures that they're being forced to handle. So I got a 375 round ball right there. I could have 380 round ball. I have a 380 140 grain Colt type of conical right there, commonly called the sugar loaf type. Okay, little pointy bullet. They will act differently when I fire them, because the bullets are different weights, different etc. How about the caps? A number 10 cap, a number 11 cap, or how about one of the number 11 Magnum caps? They make such a thing. That can change slightly the point of impact. And then we got to talk about the powder charge itself. Using a flash like this and a pre-made nozzle does not necessarily throw a consistent shot to shot equal charge. It'll throw it close, and if you're just getting out and planking at 10 cans or something, this is perfectly fine. If you're trying to get accuracy, you're going to need a powder measure, because you need to measure them. You're trying to get extreme accuracy, Blackie. I'm wanting to reach way on out yonder. Then you got to weigh the charges just like you do with our modern powder. If I'm trying to milk every ounce of accuracy out, then I'm going to have to weigh the bullets and make sure all the bullets are roughly the same weight, because as they're being made, they can be little air pockets or whatever in it, and it's slightly a little inconsistently, and so it's got to be within a grain of each one. I can't be 3 and 5 grains off, because that'll make it go to a different point of impact now, won't it? I've got to have my powder the same powder, so I'm going to use, when I go to buy powder, I prefer to buy the same lot, and what that means in English is there's like a serial number right there, sorry for the aircraft, on every one of these powders. I try to buy a couple that are exactly the same lot every time, so that whenever I get used to shooting this powder, these next 3 cans all came from the same batch when they created it, so there will not be that much variation from shot to shot from these. And so I have, and black powder as well. This old elephant stuff that I had years ago, and I've still got some left, it was always inconsistent. So I used it mostly for the big stuff like the shotguns and stuff like that, because you could kind of hide it. But in pistols and stuff, it really was inaccurate. The point being is you have to be consistent from all your variables. You got to eliminate as many of them as you can. So you have decided you're going to start with round ball, 375 round ball, home caster you bought them. Okay? Next, you've decided that you're going to use actual GoX. You got a supply of it. Okay? Now, what is the starting charge? For each gun, I work up 3 charges. 1, a super low, pure target load. This is meant for really close up in the tightest possible group. And I will tell you, of the 3, this one is the most pain in the butt. It really is, because one of my Stormborn, my 61 Navy, it is 8 grains of Powerdex P and then 15 grains of cream of wheat filler, and then a 375 round ball on top. With that and a Remington cap, and I do my part, she'll shoot a ragged clover leaf at 15 yards. So if we're putting money down on this, 15 yards, that's the load I'm using. It's time consuming and it's awkward to load it. But it does, after I have practiced and taken it out and made variations, we're going to talk about that, until I found what this gun really liked. Okay? And so it was 8 grains of Powerdex P and 375 round ball and a Remington cap. I got it wrote down, so I know what that is. Then there's a general purpose one. Now I can hear right now out there in the comments, you Civil War guys going, Blackie, that is way overloaded. Oh my God. They use 17 grains in the Civil War. That's all it should shoot, 17 grains. Let me explain that a minute. When Colt was making these guns, he had a certain power level in mind. And so today we talk about the 44 Russian, the 44 Special, the 44 Magnum. Okay? Just a lengthened case. The 357, the 38 S&W, the 338 Special, the 357 Maximum. Just lengthen the case. Put more powder, get more horsepower out of it. Okay? He wanted a certain amount of power out of this. A certain amount of killing power. And so he made that chamber to hold that. When you go and read the original Colt, how to load this, it was fill the chamber to the top. Then put a ball in it and squeeze it down and put a cap on it. No wads, no nothing. Full chamber. Today we call that a maximum load. But he was going for a certain amount of power. Now, when these guns were being tested by the U.S. Army Ordnance Board for field use by the U.S. Army, they really, really liked them. And they worked out, I believe it was 21 grains and a round ball, or, no, it's 20, guys, I think it was 23 grains and a round ball and 20 grains and a conical, that Colt conical. It'd be hard to compress it in there, but they could do it. And when they said, okay, we like it, and here's the load, the Ordnance Board, every single time, didn't matter what we're talking about, artillery rounds, handguns, rifles, whatever, every round they ever submitted to the Ordnance Board said, oh, that seems excessive, cut the powder down. Because they're loading millions of rounds. And so a single grain less meant millions more rounds could be produced for a given amount of powder. So they thought, well, you can't tell the difference between 15 and 20 grains, so we'll just knock it down to 15 grains, even though the gun was made for 25. See? And so in the field, they were also having to make ammunition that fit all the 36s, not just this. So it had to fit the 36 Remington, the 36 Whitney, and all these others had different chamber capacities. So they just came up with one, and so you'll see that in books over and over again. Why did the U.S. military say it was only 17 grains? Because they were trying to make that bullet fit in multiple guns. They're not talking about your gun. They're talking about one to fit all. And usually how does one size fits all apply to anything? You know, hats, one size fits all. Want to bet? You know, and so that's what they were trying to do. So what we're trying to develop is your gun and what its load should be. Okay? So I've just talked about what the minimum load is on Stormborn, my 61 Navy. The maximum load, I think, was 23 grains and a round ball. Going above it, and I can get a little bit more powder in there than that, it doesn't improve, and actually accuracy goes away, because if you start and make everything the same except changing the powder, changing how much powder. If I start at 10 grains, and that's exactly the same balls, exactly the same loading pressure, I'm about to get to that, and all the above, and I shoot it off a bench and I shoot. And my very next set of 10, I'll shoot with 11 grains. The very next set, I will do 12 grains. The very next set, I will do 13 grains. And you will see a group start and get smaller and smaller and smaller, and it'll reach a certain sweet spot, and then when you go past it, it starts getting big again. So it looks almost like an hourglass. Whatever that sweet spot is, that is your general purpose load. Okay? Usually it's somewhere with a 36 Navy like this, somewhere between 15 and 20 grains. Usually. Okay? So I typically just start with 15 grains and then make incremental improvements until I find that shrinking down. So we're going to start with the same consistent bullets. We're going to load it consistently. Now let's talk about that. Again, this is not just a gun. This is a loading press. This cylinder is actually 6 cartridge chamber is what it is. It'd be like everybody talks about pulling them in and out to put into Remingtons and things. That's 6 cartridges is what it is. Instead of 6 individual cases, it's one big thing that holds all of them. Okay? This is your loading press right here. So I mark mine, and let me tell you about that. I am going to put, let's say, 10 grains in here for a target starting. And whenever I rotate it underneath and I put the round ball in there, I'm going to pop it, and I'm going to see where the handle is. I'm going to bring it down, and I feel it contact, it pushes, and when it gets to where I think that's like enough pressure, you know, where it's like there's a certain amount of resistance. It's like tightening up the lid on a jar. There's tight enough, you know what I mean? Without, you know, where I'm standing on it trying to shove. Now I want to come down, and there's a certain amount of pressure. When it gets to a certain amount of pressure, right about there I think it is, I'll notice what the angle is and about how much pressure. When I load the next one, I want to do that again. Load it the same amount of pressure, shot to shot. How much, what's called press, how much press we've got on it that squeezes that ball against that powder. Again, consistency is accuracy. I will then shoot. I usually, and we will go back over this whenever we actually come out and get to shoot this coming week, so next weekend with luck. This is one of my targets. This is what we're going to use for a target. I want to line my sights on that point right there. I can see this clearly over the top of my sights, and I will bring my sights up and focus on right there. And I will shoot. Now, seeing how accurate this gun was before, I expect the group to go somewhere in here. I will then shoot like 10 rounds of 15 grains. And I will mark out here on the side 15 grains. Then up here I'll aim for that one, and I will change, and I'll go to like 18 grains. Does the group get smaller or larger? If the group gets a little smaller, okay. We've established that it's above the 15 mark. when I pull out my next target and get up there and set it up, I'm going to start with 20. Does it get a little bigger? Yeah, it did. I'll shoot it again. I'll reload that 18 and I'll shoot it again. Is it a smaller group than this? The 18 is smaller than that 20? Yeah. Okay, then I've established then that it likes, with GoX powder, it likes around 18 grains. All right, now I start playing with the other factors because we figured out the powder level. Okay, what other factors can I do? How much I squeeze it. Does it like a little more, or does it like me to tighten it down more? That old Mark I torque wrench right there to figure out how much to squeeze it. If I increase the pressure just a little bit more, do my groups go down or do they open up? I have shot with 18. Let's say I get up there and I add a little bit more pressure and my groups get smaller. Okay, it likes a little tighter packed load then, and I'll dial in. Why use the blue instead of bright orange or something? The eye does not fatigue well. Blue is kind of neutral to the eyes, so your eyes don't get tired as quick. You're trying to squint and see these small little targets, and whenever you're trying to squint at bright orange, get a bright orange target like this sometime. I want to challenge you with this. Put it out there at say 10 yards, and I want you to spend 60 seconds, a full minute, focus on it real hard, trying to stare through that little black square in the middle or whatever. Really focus on it. Give it a full 60 seconds. And I want you to close your eyes, and you'll see a dot glowing right there. That indicates that the back of your eyes, where the rods and cones are, that light is focusing on, is getting fatigued because of orange and red. The human eye doesn't see it very well. So we're kind of having to strain to see that. And therefore your eyes get tired. That's the reason when you're looking through a crosshair and scope, that bright orange dot trying to sight in your rifle, and on your like 8th or 10th round, it gets to where the crosshair just disappears. Your eyes in that orange have become so tired that they don't really see well anymore, and your groups start opening up because you've got eye fatigue. Use the blue targets, it doesn't fatigue your eyes. And therefore you can shoot longer without your eyes getting tired as much. Okay? Now, I have worked out in this little scenario 18 grains. That's going to be my daily carry load. Round ball, 18 grains. I'm going to write that down. I'm going to test it 2 or 3 times on different targets. Make sure it wasn't just a lucky day. That I was really good today and tomorrow, man, it's all over the place. Make sure the gun really does like it. When it does, I put it in pen. 18 grains of this powdered dye. I have a chronograph. I will then shoot over a chronograph to find out the velocity, so I can mark that down, so that later on, should 6 months from now, a year from now, my powder runs out and I have to buy a new powder and it's not as accurate anymore. The powder may have changed because each of these consistencies of the powders, no matter what kind of powder we're talking about, varies just a little bit from one to another. And so it may give you a little more velocity, a little less. By shooting it across the chronograph, I now have a number to work with. So if I was at 850 feet per second out of this powder, and the new can of powder is 725, I need to go up that powder charge just to grunt, don't I, to get the velocity, because we know that velocity is the sweet spot that's causing that target to neck down. Okay? Alright. I have worked out the 18 grains. That is going to become the standard load. When I make my to-go to the field cartridges like I've done here with my Dixie tubes, I'd load 18 grains in those. Those are standard loads. There's only one left then. Well, actually 2. I want to try a conical in it. So that Colt conical I got, or one of my others, whatever I'm trying in the thing, I will come out and I will try it the same way and find what it likes. Why a conical? A conical is for penetration. So if I'm carrying that and I might encounter big hog, conical is what I'd want for it. if I'm going to be going hunting with something else, and I'm carrying this as a coup de grace weapon. So if I do shoot the big hog with a shotgun or whatever, and he's not quite out, but I'm really close, and I don't want to shoot him with a shotgun because it's going to make a splatter, I can use that 51 Navy pop. And so therefore, I want my 36s for penetration, where I'm asking this gun to deeply penetrate. I want the round ball for a general purpose carry. It does not perform like a, it is not, I can see real thick coming. It does not perform like a hollow point, but it dead soft lead does kind of mushroom out a little bit and will make a bigger wound, and it does transfer energy well. That's the reason that Elmer Keith talked about in his book, that he had talked with actual lawmen and soldiers who had actual combat experience with percussion, 51 Navies and 61 Navies and 1860 Armies in combat, and then later served as peace officers or whatever, and they had cartridge firearms. And later, when the 38 Special came out in the early 1900s, when he was talking to them, and he said, two old lawmen that he knew said, quote, that the 51 Navy was a far better man stopper with a round ball than any 38 Special in actual shooting, because they had used both of them firsthand, and in their opinion, the round ball made out of pure lead shot out of one of these was a better man stopper than that 38 Special. Why? Because 38 Special had a little bit of tin mixed in for the loading process when they loaded the cartridge at the factory, and the bullets didn't flatten out. So they didn't use pure lead, so they didn't flatten out on hitting impact. It stayed the same, where the round ball would flatten out a little bit. So, the final one is going to be the maximum load. And I'm going to fill the chamber all the way to the top, leaving just enough room to put a round ball in it. And I'm going to shoot, see what it does. Then I'm going to back it down a grain at the time. So I'll go to the top, see, making up a number here. Let's say it's 24 grains. Alright, I will shoot a group. Then I will drop it from 24 grains to 22 grains. And I'll try it. Does my group get smaller? Yes or no? I'll drop it down to 20. It might be 20 on one of my other guns I've had in the past. The day carry load and the heavy load are only 2 grains apart. And so I don't even worry about the heavy load because it's only 2 grains apart. So the load that it likes is the one that I carry. See? So that becomes the daily carry. You need a really light target for when you've got to shoot small targets up close, and that's a true target thing up close. You don't shoot targets at long range with a cap ball handgun. 10-15 yards. I write it down because I'll rarely ever use it. It's the daily carry one. That's when I want, and also I want to know what the powder, what the projectile, what were the weights, what were the velocities, so that whenever I have been spending all this summer getting this, you know, I've been out in the range 15 times, 20 times, I've got it all dialed in, and I've shot probably 2 pounds of powder through it, you know, totaling 1,000 rounds or more through it, and I've really got it dialed in. I know exactly where it is, and I may put this in the gun safe, and I may move on to something else for a little bit because I got some other thing. When I come back to it 6 months, 6 weeks, 6 years, whatever, instead of having to trust my memory what the load was, I flip open my book, and it says that my Squareback 51 likes 18 grains of this powder, and about how much pressure. I do it as a mental thing, like a 1, 2, 3, 4, being I'm bearing down with everything I got. So it likes a loading pressure of 2. And so therefore, I'll know what to load it. Take it back out, shoot one cylinder through it, make sure it's dialed in still where I'm wanting to be, and then carry it in the field as a hunting gun or whatever. It will be dialed in. To shoot the percussion guns is a thinking man's gun. And a thinking lady's gun. I ain't excluding y'all, because I know several ladies that are pretty dang good with a cap and ball revolver. So, it can be just as viable in the field as any modern gun. It really can. You just got to understand the tips and tricks. But in the loading process, you have to do all the complicated stuff and learn it. And then once you do learn it, and you get it dialed in, and you figure out what it likes, etc., it's super easy from then on. You don't have to ask. 18 grains, this powder, this, that, load it up. That's the load. And does it shoot left, right, or high? It should, when we get done, shoot the point of aim. I don't have to know that. I just got to point it then. And so I can bust bunnies with it and hunt. I can take it with me on that camp out where we're going to be fishing. But if a piglet comes up, because hogs are legal to hunt in Alabama year-round, and if a 25 or 30 pounder ropes up into camp, that's free food. See, pop behind the ear and you got something to eat. A rabbit, whatever. You can do it as long as you know and are capable and know what it's capable of. But again, consistency is accuracy. That's about all I'm going to be able to do, guys, because I can see it's right there. It'll be here in about 10 minutes. I better get going. Hope you've enjoyed this, guys. Next week is when we'll get to do the shooting whenever I can stay on the range and it's not going to be this stuff. Till next time, guys, I'm Blackie wishing you a safe journey. Have a great day, guys.